As angry as Garret was, his rage didn't mean much when it came to investigation. He was still a gym rat who worked construction and played rugby on the weekends, not an edgy outlaw whose sole purpose in life was to face down the forces of evil. He had to do some serious thinking, and though Woolite had never revealed his plan to him, he guessed that he'd either go to the weights racetrack, Olympic Fields, and if not those two, there was one that was lesser known out in Heathrow. He recalled Woolite asking where he could find racetracks that were open at night, so if he were following up on that lead, the first logical place to start would be Olympic Field in the serendipitous Fate District. Ace warns him that if they ever met again, he'd have to assume he was compromised and he'd kill him. While Garret didn't doubt that he would, he had to hope that they didn't. With the rage he harbored inside his gut, he thought that maybe the sight of his righteous fury may be enough. He actually had to sneak into the Olympic Fields racetrack due to not having the presence of mind to grab any money before he left his house. It was approximately 5 p.m. and he had made note of when the sun looked like it was going down. He had to eyeball it since his phone was without charge and at the moment an expensive paperweight. Ace was beginning to believe he understood Woolite's thinking, even though he was very slippery on the details. The man moved like a turtle, slow and methodical, so slow in fact it was hard to tell if he was doing anything at all. In the grander scheme of things, making big moves was the very thing that brought attention to you, and perhaps was the reason for so many hunters' eventual brutal deaths. Woolite would casually observe the people there, memorizing faces, clocking patterns and behavior. In an hour's time, he may ask someone who had been at the track about who the sure things were, but never let his conversations go past a few sentences. Ace realized he did this so that whoever he talked to wouldn't remember him. He would be a stranger in passing. In the few hours they had been there, he realized Woolite had amassed quite a lot of tidbits of information that would only seem irrelevant or inane, but just like a puzzle, if one put it all together, they'd see the whole of the bigger picture it was creating. From what Ace saw, Woolite had collected several persons of interest that frequented the tracks that kept unusual hours. Even managed to catch wind of a professional racer that used to come around at night that hadn't shown up in about a week or so. He wasn't sure who Woolite had singled out to investigate yet, but even with his eyes partially closed and laid back in his chair, relaxed as he were sleeping, he saw things that most people would never catch.
"Seems like our friend found a way back to us,"
Woolite said, laid back with his arms resting behind his head. Ace scoured the tracks, and he did indeed find Garret moving around the racetrack, scanning the crowd.
"Sun's not down, so the big guns probably aren't up yet. Or maybe we got the wannabe blade skulking about,"
said Woolite. While Woolite had had run-ins with many different types of vampires, he tended not to always know the terms they used for it, and even when he knew them, he didn't like to say them correctly, just in case one of them or agents of them may be in his general vicinity. "I'll deal with it," said Ace.
"Are you sure this time?"
said Woolite. His voice went down an octave in the closest way he came to an "I told you so." "I'm sure," Ace said while taking his duffel bag and getting into position to get the drop on Garret. He knew that if Garret came back, the likelihood of him being him was extremely low, and the chances of him being puppeted by them were extremely high. So even if it was just him alone, them meeting face to face could be a very dangerous proposition. Ace mirrored Garret, who tried his best to find him, he assumed, but it was obvious that he didn't have the honed skills of someone who knew what to look for when danger was afoot. There was a certain level of calm that one needed to be effective in such things of this nature, whether it was merely not looking like you were someone that was the problem. The racetrack wasn't quite crowded, and the dome projected a landscape image of the bottom of the ocean. Ace didn't choose to engage Garret, somewhere too open lest he have to shoot him in ghost, but seeing that he was scouring the auditorium, he didn't feel as if he was going to get a better chance to engage him. Ace stalked up behind the bigger man easily and jammed a pistol in his back. "I thought I told you I'd kill you if I ever saw you again," said Ace. Garret slowly rose his hand as if he didn't know what else to do. "Put your fucking hands down. We'll go somewhere out of the way so we can talk," said Ace. That was absolutely a lie. He had every intention of killing Garret the moment he led him to a suitable place away from watching eyes. He knew exactly how he'd do it. He'd stick a knife in his throat the moment he got the chance. "I know you may not believe me, but it was like you said. They had cops waiting at the house. One drank something, and suddenly everything he said was awesome." "Those are the wannabe Blades, or ghouls maybe." "What are?" "Blades, like Wesley Snipes. They can walk in the daytime." "Oh," said Garret. "My girl got shot. She's probably dead. I barely got away," said Garret. More than likely he didn't, Ace thought, but chose not to say. "Come on, we'll talk about it. Not in the open," said Ace. Garret wasn't adept at games of espionage, but he wasn't so thick that he believed Ace just trusted him sight unseen. "I know you wouldn't trust me that easy. Look, I don't know what to do. I don't have anything else but revenge. Keyshawn was my life, and without her, I don't see any point in acting like I have a reason to go on. I don't know what I could do to make you trust me. If I were them, there is no way I'd want to bring attention to myself. Right? Said Garret, raising his voice. While this was absolutely true, Ace didn't have time to tell him they too didn't want that attention either. Garret started running towards the track. Ace put his gun away. Whatever it was he was doing was too insane for him to be a part of, even if he did have intentions on killing Garret. He ran towards the track and attempted to climb the railing and hop down. A clearly suicidal move, but in Garret's mind, if he brought that much attention to himself and lived, they couldn't doubt the purity of his intentions. The car screamed around the track, and even if he did manage to get to the track proper, the chances that he'd live through it were low. As he got to the last railing to hop off, he felt an arm snake around his neck, and through the force of leverage that might be seen as an expert judo master, Woolite choke-slammed him onto the pavement, stopping him from going over. Woolite didn't pull his pistol or knife. Killing Garret was not off the table, but after such an insane stunt, his curiosity overrode his interest in snuffing him out, for now. "And why would you want to do something as stupid as that?" said Woolite. "It's the only way you'd know I was willing to risk it all," said Garret. Woolite shrugged, and though it was stupid, even sounded stupid when it came out of his mouth, a part of him respected that. It was so stupid he didn't want to kill him. "Just 'cause you're suicidal don't change a goddamn thing. For all we know, a talker got to you and told you to do it. You might not even know why," said Woolite. "At this point, all I have is rage. Doesn't matter if you kill me or they do. Fuck it. I want to take as many of them as I can with me to hell," Garret said with all the fire his heart could muster. "What you think? The boy want to die for the cause," said Woolite to Ace. "Fuck it," Ace said as he lowered his hand to Garret.